what's going on? It's Dr. Ganatra, and today I want to talk to you about something really important. How do you stop your past from destroying your future? You know, maybe you've gone through a tough thing in your past or your life, or whether it was health-wise, financially, or with a relationship. Maybe you went through some craziness in your past, or maybe you have a friend or a family member who went through the same thing. How do you stop the past from destroying the future that's yet to come? You know, so many times we let what we went through really create some craziness in our life, and really it just throws off where we're going. It throws off our tomorrows, and it sucks out the life force out of us, because just because we went through it yesterday, you know what, we let it drag and linger, and it just ruins us for tomorrow. So this is a really important topic. I want to give you 3 key strategies, mental hacks, or keys or strategies, whatever you want to call them, to stop the past from bleeding into the future and destroying it. So let's go over that. But before I get started, I want to talk to you about something that happened with me in my practice. You know, a while ago, I had the gift or the blessing of meeting one of the survivors from the Holocaust. You know, he was part of Schindler's List. You know, Oskar Shindler saved 1,200 Jewish people from the Holocaust, and he was one of the 1,200. And I was so inspired by his story and his struggle and his hardship and how he got out of it. And every time he came in my office maybe about 3 to 4 times, and he turned into a patient. And I had looked forward to him coming in, because he'd always share these stories with me, and he would inspire me so much through his struggle, through what he went through, and how he turned into such a magnificent and incredible human being. You know, he was full of humor, full of joy, just vibrancy, and he just had a great sense of humor, and we always laughed when he came in. And I was so inspired by the fact that he went through such a crazy situation in his life. He went through so much death in his life because of the Holocaust, and he came out of it with so much life at the end of, you know, everything that he went through. You know, he came out of it with such vibrancy in life, and I just, wow, I was so blown away by his story. And it's always stayed with me ever since I met him. So I wanted to kind of also give you an insight into, you know, what are these 3 strategies that you can use in your life, regardless of what you've been through. You know, many people probably will have not gone through something as crazy as this individual did, and he passed away a few years ago. But you know something? We all have our battles. We all have our struggles. And whatever those struggles are, those struggles mean the most to us, right? So let's stop the past from destroying the future. How do we do it? Let's go into the 3 strategies of how to do that. Number one, the first thing you gotta do is to realize and commit to this in your mind, that just because you went through something that was challenging or tough, it doesn't define you. It only refines you. It only refines you. It doesn't define you. It only refines you. So what do I mean by that? It refines you. It turns you into a sharper, more vibrant, more clear, more impactful, more loving, a better version of who you are. What you went through turned you into that, if you allow it. If you allow it to define you, then maybe you went through some craziness, and you're always going to think, I'm just not that, or I don't have it in me, or because I went through that, I can't love again, or because I went through that, I can't succeed again, or because I failed at that, I probably won't win at this, right? If you let it define you, those negative, crazy things from the past, that's what your mind is going to do. But if you realize it doesn't define you, it only refines you, it only turned you into a better, sharper, clearer, more loving person of who you are and who you're yet to be, then you will feel liberated. You will free yourself from the definition of that past. And as soon as you decide that, hey, you know what? I am not the past, and because I went through it, that's not my definition. And you got to be careful here, because some of the closest people around you, some of your family members, your friends, whoever they are, they will also try to define you by what you went through. And that's not going to be an empowering thing for you. What you have to do is just realize what you went through is just there to refine you. That's it, not to define you, right? Refine, not define, right? So that's the key. Realize that you have gone through this, and it's turned you into a greater you. the best version of you, as long as you've been allowing it to do that. And maybe you haven't. Maybe you haven't allowed it. Maybe this is the time you can. Maybe this is the time you should allow it to turn you into a better version of you. So realize that's there. Be cognizant of your environment. People may just naively keep you in that box of, hey, they went through this, so they can't do this, or they had this problem, so they're going to have this issue, right? So focus on the fact that refinement wins over a definition of who you are. So clear yourself of that. Liberate yourself of that. And that leads me to number 2. If you can't define yourself from the past, then how do you gain your identity? What do you do to gain that sense of who you are? Well, here's what you do. You create who you want to be. You start creating who you want to be in the future and let that define you. Let who you create in the future define you. So let me explain this. You have to have a vision or an image or an icon of who you want to be in the future, and that's what has to define you. That's where you have to gain your identity from. That's where you have to gain your power from, your essence from, is who do I want to be tomorrow? Who do I want to show up as tomorrow? How do I want to love? How do I want to give? How do I want to make an impact? How do I want to be in my daily life tomorrow? That person. Let that person define who you are today. Because you can create that person. You have to create that identity. One good way of doing it, what's worked that I really love doing is writing it down. Being really clear. I put it in my journal. I write it down. I use this thing. It's just a simple journal. You write it into here. It's a great message. It says, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you've imagined, by Thoreau. And I think that really sums it up. Live the life that you've imagined. You have to imagine what you want to be in the future. You have to think of where you want to be and start living that today. And when you start doing that, you're going to establish a more refreshing, a more empowering, a more creative identity for who you want to be and who you are right now. And that is so amplifying, it's so liberating, and that's something you can start immediately. Number three, you have to stay in the present time. Okay, so you have to stay here. You have to stay here. You can't loop back and think of what could have been, what should have been, or how you didn't do that, or how you weren't that. You can't go to the past, because it's gone and it doesn't exist here. The past doesn't exist here. The only thing that exists here is the present, is this moment, this time. And you have to stay here, because if you're not here, you're not gonna be able to move forward into the future. You're not gonna be able to move ahead, and you won't be able to see clearly into the future if you're not sitting and standing and being more available to your facilities here today. So let's just review the 3. The first one, don't let what you went through define you. Realize instead that it refines you. Okay? So realize that it's created a better version of who you want to be. It can create a better version of who you are if you let it refine you, not define you. That also includes the people around you. Don't let them define you by what you've been through. Let them say what they want to say. That's fine. At the end of the day, you are going to understand that you've just been refined because what you went through, right? And number 2, realize that the best way to create your identity is to create it, really. Create your identity by creating who you want to be in the future and living that today, right? Living the life that you've imagined, living it today, because you've created your identity in the future. You've created who you want to be in the future, and now you're living it today. Live it that way. And then third is stay present. Stay focused. Stay here. Be within yourself. Realize that the more you dive into who you are today, right now, outside of yesterday, don't loop back to yesterday. The more you dive into who you are today, the easier and the more effective and the more authentic it's going to be for you to jump ahead in life, to move forward. If you can only jump forward if you're standing here, right? You're not gonna be able to jump forward if you have one leg back here and you're doing the splits. You can only jump forward if you're standing here. So I hope these 3 strategies or these mental hacks or these keys help you. Hope you start using them today. Use all 3. I thank you so much for watching this video. I love making these for you. Like it, share it, leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. And have an amazing day. And I will see you in the next video. And have an incredible day. Live inspired. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.